Hey guys, Bubba here with the BubbaNews, all in one word, all in one news. How are you guys doing tonight? It is now, oh my goodness, it is now midnight, May 17th. We just crossed over into, yeah, today's going to be a big day in the Middle East, May 17th with the Arab Summit there in Baghdad, and we're going to talk about that, but I want to talk about this two-state solution update. I apologize for getting this video out so late, and a lot of you will probably listen to this tomorrow, Saturday, but, I was on a panel tonight earlier with a Bible study with Derek, so that was a lot of fun, being on his YouTube channel over there, but, you know what, there's just so much to talk about, where to even begin, but yeah, let's just get going, because I don't want to keep you guys up all night, but thank you so much for watching, those of you who are tuning in, so let's get right to it, but yeah, and we're going to cover some verses at the end too that I think are very prophetic in nature with what's going on. But, okay, I'm just going to slow down because I was going way too fast because I feel like I'm pressured because I want to get this done because it's midnight. I want to go to bed. I need to eat. But yeah, let's get right to it. You know what? The world's getting ready for a two-state solution. And this was the big news that came out today because they're talking about doing a new state of Palestine without Israeli input. The entire world is going to get on board with what's coming. And Zechariah 12 verse 3 comes to mind because Jerusalem will become a very heavy stone for all the peoples. All who lift it will be severely injured, and all the nations of the earth will be gathered in unity against it, against Israel. And they're going to gather in unity, I believe, at the United Nations, because this is what's going on. But, the organizers, and they're talking about this, and the June meeting coming up, June 2nd through the 4th, it has now been moved to June 17 to 20. So instead of 3 days, they're going to get 4 days, and it's going to be a combination of France with Emmanuel Macron there and Mohammed bin Salman of Saudi Arabia. And both those guys were in... they were there at the UN last month, April 14th, I believe it was. And they basically told all the members of the General Assembly, we're coming back in June, and everyone's going to talk about this, and we're going to agree to this two-state solution coming up. So, here's what they say from this article, and this article came out today. The organizers state that the conference is intended to serve as a point of no return, paving the way for ending the Israeli occupation and promoting a permanent settlement based on the two-state solution. The UN Secretary General will deliver an address alongside various national representatives. The proceedings will culminate in a practical action document establishing a binding commitment with definitive timelines. In other words, this is going to be a binding commitment from the world, and they're going to have a timeline of when they're putting it into place. This approach marks a significant departure from previous diplomatic efforts that waited for the Israeli-Palestinian bilateral engagement, as France and Saudi Arabia are now advancing their agenda regardless of Israel's participation. So they're basically doing this right now without Israel, and they're going to force it on Israel. How will this happen? Well, the Saudi and French initiative calls for UN sanctions against parties that are acting contrary to the conference final document. Basically, they're going to put sanctions on Israel if they don't abide by it, effectively attempting to force Israel into a diplomatic process without Israel's consent. That in itself is nuts. But this is going to be the heavy stone, I believe, with Israel coming up. And the proposed solution demands a rapid, time-limited, and irreversible process culminating in an independent and sovereign Palestinian state alongside Israel. Under this framework, Israel will be required to make concessions first, without receiving recognition commitments from Palestinians, as the organizers maintain that such recognition can only follow Palestinian statehood. In other words, Israel's going to have to make their concessions first and agree to this without getting a commitment from the Palestinians of how they're... In other words, Israel's going to have to agree to this in a blind faith kind of a scenario. So someone's going to be arriving on scene, I believe, this fall that's going to confirm this and take this to the next level, because I believe a 7-year truce, Abraham Alliance kind of a scenario, platform, peace plan, all of this is coming. Here's what it continues to say. The invitation concludes by emphasizing that the ultimate goal of the conference will be to, 1, realize the international global consensus that this is what's going to happen. 2, mark a point of no return. In other words, once they do this, it's going to go forth. And 3, lay the foundations for the way forward by creating the environment required for a just and sustainable solution to the question of Palestine and the conflict. The purpose of this international conference will not be to revive or relaunch an endless process, but to implement once and for all the two-state solution. Significantly, Israel is not identified as a necessary party to this imposed solution, and there are no stipulated Palestinian peace commitments that are required as prerequisites. So the world is going to push this through, come hell or high water, literally. And those who stand in the way, trying to stop or delay this, they're going to get trampled. I mean, here today, here's more countries that are joining in the global outcry against Israel. Nations of Europe assume the responsibility to stop this devastation. This was put out by, this was the government of Ireland, along with Luxembourg, Malta, Norway, Slovenia, Spain today came out hard against Israel. You know, earlier this week it was Macron of France. Then it was Meloni of Italy. And then now you've got Ireland, along with Iceland, Luxembourg, Malta, Norway, Slovenia, Spain. They call upon the government of Israel to immediately reverse its current policy, refrain from further military operations, and fully lifted the blockade. They say we will continue to support the Palestinian people's rights to self-determination and work in the framework of the United Nations and with other actors like the Arab League and Arab and Islamic states to move forward to achieve a peaceful and sustainable solution. Only peace can bring security for Palestinians, Israelis in the region, and only respect for international law can secure lasting peace. In other words, they're saying that only a two-state solution will be able to bring Palestine peace, or peace to the region. And only Israel respecting the international law can achieve and secure lasting peace. But this is what I'm talking about. Remember when we were talking about the June 2nd to the 4th meeting at the UN regarding Israel and Palestine? Well, now it's been, it's no longer, it's actually, it's not even on the schedule anymore on the UN website. So they've had to reschedule this. It's been replaced by the France and Saudi backed conference on a two-state solution, now set for June 17th through the 20th at the United Nations headquarters there in New York City. And there's no evidence currently that's suggesting that a current meeting is still being planned for June 2nd through the 4th. So it says the high-level international conference for the peaceful settlement of the question of Palestine and the implementation of the two-state solution is the primary event co-chaired by France and Saudi Arabia aimed at advancing UN resolutions on the two-state solution. It was mandated by a September 2024 General Assembly resolution and is now scheduled for June 17 through 20th, 2025. And this is taken right from the UN website today. But you know what? Tomorrow, Saturday, now that we're, it's 12:10 a.m. here, we're already into Saturday the 17th, but tomorrow's a big day. Not only with Israel going in with Gideon's chariots, which they started tonight. Tomorrow, after the Sabbath ends at sunset, that's when it's really going to kick off. That'll be around noon to 1 p.m.-ish Eastern time. Israel's sunset, ending their Sabbath, and that's when they're really going to begin the insanity going into Gaza. It's going to be ugly. But tomorrow also is a huge Baghdad summit. The leaders of the Arab countries intend to approve the Baghdad Declaration tomorrow at the 34th Ordinary Summit. And this has to do with Israel, of course. I mean, there are 3 sections to this Baghdad Declaration. And the Palestinian issue came at the top of the list of the first section even of the declaration. which reaffirms the centrality of the Palestinian cause. This is basically this meeting tomorrow. It's going to be huge. It's another stepping stone towards the final goal, which is a two-state or a 7-year truce peace plan coming. And while this headline talks about Syria, the Baghdad Declaration calls on all countries, to support the categorical rejection of any form of displacement of the Palestinian people from their land and under any name, circumstance, or justification. And that's going to come in huge, what I just said, forcing any form of displacement on the Palestinian people from their land because of what Trump is, and they're talking about in Israel tonight. We're going to cover that at the end of the video here in a few minutes. But the Baghdad Declaration calls for a just and comprehensive peace plan and final settlement of the Palestinian issue. And they're calling on Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas to convene an international peace conference and take irreversible steps to implement the two-state solution in accordance with the Arab Peace Initiative and the resolutions of international legitimacy. But check this out. In this Baghdad Declaration, they're calling for the deployment of international UN protection and peacekeeping forces in the occupied Palestinian territory until the implementation of the two-state solution. So if they come to this agreement in June, which I believe they are, and I have a feeling it could be something to do with Abraham Accords, but that may be on the docket, but it may come later in the timeline, maybe closer to July 4th for that announcement, as they get closer to confirming and strengthening the 7-year, but I believe a 7-year is coming out June 17th through the 20th. We'll see if we're still here. But just to bring in a UN peacekeeping forces to the West, or not to the West Bank, but they're going to bring it to the Temple Mount. They're going to replace the Israeli police force with a UN peacekeeping force. And check this out. You guys are getting a bonus round here. But you know how they did the Abrahamic family house visit yesterday with Trump? We talked about that last night's video. And, well, he did visit it today, this morning, actually. But the Abrahamic family house there in Abu Dhabi, I have a feeling they're going to try to bring that idea to the Temple Mount. What if they call it the Abrahamic Temple Mount? That would be nuts. But anyway, the meeting is going to take place while the world watches Israel going into Gaza with Operation Gideon's Chariots tomorrow, as this meeting goes on with the Baghdad Declaration. But check this out. This gets even nuttier because tonight Trump's plan is talking about a permanent transfer of 1 million Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to Libya. What could possibly go wrong? But check it out. Libya, or Put, is mentioned as one of the fighting groups in the Gog-Magog war. And we read about Put or Libya there in Ezekiel 38 verse 5. But a transfer of more terrorist people groups to a Gog-Magog player like Libya, that'd be nuts. And that probably wouldn't be a good idea with all the violence going on in Libya lately. The past 3 nights they have had violent protests and everything, and 6 people have died. It's crazy. But, in recent weeks, Hamas-affiliated online platforms have warned Palestinians against leaving Gaza. And they're saying that these efforts would be part of an Israeli conspiracy plan. Oh, but check this out. Libya, along with Rwanda, has also been considered a destination for migrants who are currently being captured by ICE and shipped to the Seacot concentration camp in El Salvador. So that'd be nutty professor too, right? If they start sending people to Libya from Gaza, and if ICE starts sending these bad guys who aren't supposed to be in America legally to Libya as well, that'd be nutty professor. But according to one of the U.S. officials who spoke with NBC News, the idea is to promote the forced displacement. Did you hear that? Forced displacement of Palestinians to Libya will include being offered financial incentives such as free housing and even a stipend. And a stipend is a monthly, I'd call it a salary. But in return, Libya would receive access to billions of dollars in frozen U.S. funds. So Libya might be on board with this, which would be even crazier. But I got to thinking about this. If we had all these illegal migrants under the last administration that were being paid enormous sums of money to live places, have homes, have food stamps, this, that, the other, Trump is stopping that on the illegal immigrants. But if they work out something to do this for the Gazan people, I mean, there's really no difference. I mean, you know what I mean? Promising them free housing and a monthly salary, a stipend. I mean, but you know what? This isn't the first time that Israel's tried to expel Palestinians from Gaza to Libya. They tried doing this shortly after Israel occupied and took over Gaza in the 1967 war. So this plan to relocate half of Gaza's population to Libya, which is in the middle of a nearly 2-decade-long civil war, that's just crazy talk. Because what better place to relocate 1 million traumatized civilians from Gaza to a country that's being torn apart by warlords and chaos? I mean, who knows? The Gazan people might even feel right at home in Libya surrounded by the chaos. But it's not even Hamas that's the total problem. And this is why Israel's going after him. But I hate to say this, but so much of the time, the Gazans themselves are the problem. I mean, this is why not one country has stepped up yet to help really take the Gazan people. More Gazans will want to leave Gaza soon as Israel begins their Operation Gideon's Chariots. They're marching into Gaza, and they're going to start squishing the people down south into the humanitarian zone. And that's where they plan on getting the humanitarian aid to be established by the end of May, to be going into Gaza, into this humanitarian zone. But the problem is the people that go in will never be able to return from this humanitarian zone because Israel's going to flatten the rest of Gaza as they get rid of the Hamas people. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But, you know, historically, wherever the Palestinians have gone to, they have caused unrest, civil war, and militant uprisings, trying to overthrow the governments that originally helped them by taking them in. So this is why no Muslim country wants them. This is why Jordan isn't stepping up to the plate. Egypt, even Lebanon, even Syria, Saudi Arabia, none of them are coming up to the plate saying, yeah, we'll take some. Yeah. Who knows? You know, maybe even Mohammed bin Salman could take some of the Gazan men and put them to work on his Neom and the line and all that stuff going on there. But you know what? This whole thing with the two-state solution is just crazy town. I'm going to try to wrap it up, but it got me thinking, too, about, and even started going, and now I'm going to take you guys on a little rabbit trail. Bubba's rabbit trails he's going down, but in the Bible. So, you know, but this got me thinking about this right here. Talking about Gaza, Hamas, Ezekiel 25, 15 to 17 in particular. But thus says the Lord God, because the Philistines have acted in revenge, which they have, and have taken vengeance with scorn of soul, which they have, to destroy Israelis, which they have, with everlasting enmity, or an eternal hatred. And that's exactly what this battle has gone on. You know, ever since Jacob. Isaac and Esau. You know what I mean? Sorry, I got confused here. I got focused on the wording here, but that's just a mess. It's just truly a mess. I mean, all this stuff goes back to the times of Jacob, all the back times to Esau, everything, all of this. We're going to fast forward 10 chapters later from Ezekiel 25 to Ezekiel 35, verse 5. Because you have had everlasting enmity and eternal hatred, and this part got me, and have delivered the sons of Israel to the power of the sword at the time of their calamity, at the time of the punishment of the end, which we could look at that possibly as being Gaza, the October 7th. You know, it's possible, but, you know, and then I get to look in a couple verses later in Ezekiel 35. Because you have said, these two nations and these two lands will be mine, and we will possess them. You know what? That wording right there, it almost indicates like a two-state solution scenario. What do you think? I don't know. I'm just trying to look at this in a different light, maybe with prophetic eyes, trying to see, I don't know. And we will possess them. That sounds ironically like, let me make sure, I'm going to check out my other phone real quick, but it reminds me of in the Psalm 83 war. Psalm 83, verse 12, I believe it is. Here we go. Psalm 83, verse 12. Yeah, who said, let us possess for ourselves the pastures of God. So right there in Ezekiel 35:10 talks about we will possess them, the two lands, the two nations. Because the Palestinians in Gaza, they don't want a two-state solution. They want a one-state solution. They want a state of Palestine. They don't want a state of Israel. So, these are things that I've been looking at. Therefore, as I live, declares the Lord God, verse 11, I will deal with you. I will deal with you according to your anger and according to your envy, which you have showed because of your hatred against them, Israel. So I will make myself, God, Yahweh, Jehovah, known among them, Gaza, Hamas, when I judge you. Just a possibility. It's something I was looking at, and I wanted to throw it out at you guys tonight. Get your input, or tomorrow when you watch this on Saturday. But that's it for tonight, guys. Thank you so much for watching. We've got to just keep an eye on everything going on. And this is why I'm just scrolling back through this. But we're going to keep this short tonight for 20 minutes. But the two-state solution has been updated. And the meetings are going not from June 2nd through the 4th like we thought, but June 17th through the 20th. And just the fact that they, because a lot of the dark and the elites, they love their solstice days. You know what I mean? So with this, basically the longest day of the year, they're going to finish this two-state solution meeting and have basically the entire world there with the UN agreeing to what's going to happen and signing on to this and basically making it so it is non-reversible. And there's going to be a time limit. They're going to implement it. And I believe they're going to implement it there in September. And it's going to come out of the next UN General Assembly meetings there, September, 13th through the 26th, I believe? Or something like that. And that goes right over the ending of those meetings, go right over the Feast of Trumpets on the Hebrew calendar. So, there's all kinds of crazy things going on. But thank you so much, guys, for watching. I'll get this uploaded, and I'll see you guys in the premiere. And thank you so much for your prayers. And we'll talk to you soon. Maranatha, Jesus Christ is coming so very soon, guys. And if this has been a blessing to you, share this with others. Tell others, you know what? Jesus Christ is coming so soon. If you don't believe it, watch this video. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm just trying to... People need to wake up because this stuff is getting ready to get real, and it's getting ready to get fast real, and it's going to be nutty, Professor. Guys, the next couple weeks, I believe, our departure date is imminent. Oh, my goodness. It is so soon. So very soon. Literally, oh, man. Don't want to stab myself here, but if we're not here, if we're gone in the next 6 weeks, that would not surprise me at all. 4 weeks, oh, I can see it. Less than that, yeah. Oh, guys, this is crazy town. All right, we'll talk to you soon. I just get so excited I get to rambling, but you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for your prayers, and Maranatha, Jesus Christ is coming so very soon.